are watching Business Access TV.
Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access.
You are watching Business Access TV.
Business Access TV.
Serious about business.
Serious about business.
Access TV is here at the movie premiere for Bonds of Promised Land. It's a Chinese documentary on how the Chinese inhabited the Caribbean. Now, CBA, the Chinese Benevolence Association, had a hand to do with the production of the film, and there are also lots of influential persons here. So stay tuned to Business Access TV. I'm Candy. Dalton Yap, former president of the Chinese Benevolence Association, joins me now. Talk to us about the role of the CBA in this film.
Well, CBA actually had this project, in concept for quite a while, okay? And before we engage Mr. Fitzroy Smith, we had some other proposals, but it was really due to Fitzroy's tenacity and his perseverance, okay, that allowed the project to really take off, okay. And our role was really to making sure that he gets all the access, to our archives, to the different government agencies, to the embassy, and even to China. Yes.
And what is your impression of how the movie turned out?
I think it was really good. My wish has always been that we need to have a documentary made for the history of Chinese in Jamaica. We have, authors written about, the history, but there was never a docu-film that can show the history of Chinese in Jamaica. And I believe that this is the right time to have it. And the schools now are having cultural clubs for all the schools. And I believe that Fitzroy can work on giving a condensed, edited version, because I think an hour and a half is kind of long, right? So have it, appropriately condensed, so that I believe that each school must have a copy of this in their libraries as part of their whole cultural club archives.
And you touched on it a little bit, but what's the impact that you really hope the film will have?
We want to inform and educate. We want to make sure that the young people in this country, and even older people, that they understand that, we are Jamaicans. We're Jamaican with a Chinese lineage. We have been here since 1854. We all have made great contributions to nation building. But I don't believe that, the average boys and girls actually know anything about the Chinese in Jamaica in terms of their history. They came here as indentured laborers. Okay, so that is something maybe surprising to a lot of people in Jamaica.
And finally, what do you have to say to those who have not yet seen the film?
They need to either get a copy, okay? I'm sure Fitzroy will talk about that soon. But I believe that try to get a copy and look at it and see it with family and friends, and even in the classroom with the students, and discuss, how the Chinese came here and made the impact that they did, okay? And I think given this year is actually the 45th year of the Jamaican and Chinese diplomatic relation. I think it's very timely that we have this docu-film so that we can celebrate, as a sort of a tick-off point for the celebration of this particular relationship.
Ambassador New, thanks for joining us. What do you hope the impact of this film will have on Jamaicans?
First of all, it's a great honor to be able to come to this occasion. I've heard that it took them a couple of years to shoot the documentary. My hope is that after this show, many more people in Jamaica will know more about the history of Chinese migration into this island. And I'm very impressed by the national motto of Jamaica, out of many, one people. And I believe that the Chinese community is one of the most important ones. As far as I know, the Chinese have been migrating since more than 160 years ago. Of course, the first came as indentured laborers instead of slaves. But whether indentured laborers or slaves, they were all in the same larger community. The Chinese and other ethnic groups, they worked together, they befriended each other. So I think the Chinese community, through its hard work, has made a considerable contribution to the economic, cultural, and social progress of the country. I have been here for a little bit more than 1 year. I've heard many people say that Chinese are hardworking, have made great contributions. Their contribution is recognized by the larger community. I'm very heartened by that. I hope that not only the wider community will know more about the Chinese community should also know more about its ancestral history.
Producer for the film, Fitzroy Smith, joins me now. Fitzroy, talk to me about the inspiration for the film.
Wow, the inspiration for the film, I wanted to do something that looked at the various groups that made up the Jamaican motto. And at first we started to look at the black group, the black community, but then we realized, slavery's already been done. Nobody really wants to hear about slavery all over again. And then during the discussion, somebody mentioned to me that the Chinese community, who had come here as indentured laborers, came here around the same time as slavery ended. I didn't know much about the indentured period or about the Chinese community. So one of the Chinese members from the CBA gave me a booklet, which I read, and I fell in love with the booklet, and then decided, this is as colorful as the slave trade itself, so this is it, why not do something on this? And then I realized that, after starting the documentary, that it incorporates my history as well as my parents' history, because I'm born in the UK, so I have that British side of it. So it talked about the role that the British played during slavery and during the indenture period of the Chinese. And then it talked about my parents' history, which is the Jamaican side of it. So I thought I was killing two birds with one stone.
Okay, now tell me about the film itself.
Well, the documentary is about people, it's about migration, it's about resettlement, it's about moving from somewhere that you know nothing about, moving to somewhere that you know nothing about, doesn't know where it exists on the map, and then building bonds and forming communities, and then helping to change the landscape of that community or that country, despite the many hurdles that are thrown at you.
Okay, now how will the film be used in Jamaica?
Well, I'm hoping that people watching this documentary will, from an educational point of view, realize that the history that they thought about the Chinese was actually incorrect. What we're trying to show here tonight is the true history of the Chinese legacy as to why the Chinese came here, and that they came here with humble beginnings, very, very poor. Not the richness that we all seem to talk about. And then it looks at the different migration of the Chinese period. So you have those coming as indentured workers, small business, medium-sized business, and then you have those coming now as road builders and so forth like that.
Okay, and finally, what's the impact that you hope the film will have on Jamaicans?
Well, apart from making lots of money for me.
Good one, good one.
I'm hoping that the impact of the documentary will be that it will further boost people to look at me and to maybe sponsor me for other projects after doing this one, seeing how well I do on this one.
Truly historic day for Jamaica and the Chinese community with the premiere of this documentary film, Bonds of Promised Land. For the first time in our history, the story of the Chinese in Jamaica is being told on the big silver screen. From their first arrival on July 30th, 1854, when the original Mr. Chin stepped out the ship, Epsom, as an indentured laborer to work in the sugar plantations. To the present day, could be an engineer got off the plane to work or check on the Mandela Highway expansion, or Pan-Caribbean Sugar Company, working in the Frome Sugar Factory, or Gisco, there's a Jiuquan Iron and Steel Company, the new owners of Alpart Bauxite Plant in Nain, St. Elizabeth. And also, you may find a gentleman getting off the plane, the cousin of a shopkeeper in Linstead, coming to join the family business. So the Chinese are still coming to Jamaica, one way or the other. And this is a particularly important film at this point in time, because with this influx of Chinese companies, the last count is about 15 right now, okay? And I think this film, when properly maybe condensed or edited, so that it should be in every school in Jamaica as part of the whole cultural club for the schools.
It gives me great honor to be able to come to say hello, to congratulate Fitzroy Smith for completing such a documentary. And secondly, I want to thank all those who have helped the course, including, of course, I have to congratulate my embassy and local governments in Guangdong. I'm sure the crew members were well taken care of while they were shooting in China, and I believe they had easy access. Well, this is a very honorable cause to shoot this documentary. And I have to say I'm very impressed by the national motto of Jamaica, out of many, one people. And the Chinese community, the Chinese are one of the most important ones in this out of many. So I hope that, like what Dalton has said, this documentary could be shown in all classrooms, each and every classroom, so that not only the Chinese community know better about its history, but the wider community of Jamaica know the history of Chinese migration into this country, and of course, the contribution that the Chinese community has made economically, culturally, in all areas, in all walks of life. And finally, let's greet my fellow Chinese. Well, your ancestors came more than 160 years ago. They came as indentured laborers. Well, many things have happened since then. We are in a totally different world. But the Chinese have always remained as hardworking, as friendly as ever. Now we are seeing more influx of Chinese migrants. Like what Dalton has just said, the companies from China are relocating or investing in this country. I visited with Mr. Omar Davis and co-opened the south leg of the North-South Highway. The whole section was opened last March. This is a project of $730 million, the largest infrastructure project in this country, and the first infrastructure investment by any Chinese company overseas. And that is a vote of confidence in Jamaica. And it cuts the travel time across the island by at least by half. And the Jisco Airport, which will be up and running just a few months away. I was told by the general manager that when it is up and running, 600 full-time jobs will be created for the local community. And apart from alumina, they are also going to, believe it or not, they are also going to grow vegetables, graze cattle, so that the country will be flooded with vegetables, dairy, and beef.
It's been a long road, ladies and gentlemen, a road with lots of turns. Turns of sleepless nights, turns of tears, turns of running out of money, turns of wanting to give up, and turns of joy. But finally, we are here. Tonight is a night when we watch the final product. This, ladies and gentlemen, could not have been possible without help and finance. I would like to thank the Chinese Embassy, the Chinese Benevolent Association, JAMPRO, the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture, and the Confucius Institute. I would also like to give an enormous thank you to my sponsors, the Hendricksons, Mr. Lascelles Chin, Mr. Paul Ho from Supreme Ventures, Mr. Juki Chin, Juicy Patties, the Chase Foundation, the Lee's family of Lee's Food Fair. I would also like to recognize my friends who supported me, and they are Dr. Peter Glaze, Harry Campbell, Nicole Oregio, Shauna Brandon, Tommy Lee, Betty Walker, and Kathy Wong. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, the people who work tirelessly behind the scenes, with pay and without pay. Dave Sinclair, Carlton Beckford, Roxanne Stewart, Michael Edwards, Shauna Brandon, Kyle Chin, Aisha Ricketts, O'Neill Miller, Kurt Fuller, Talissa Taylor, and Twain Richardson. Ladies and gentlemen, my team. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, this documentary would not have existed if it were for not the people you're about to see. The ladies and gentlemen who I had the pleasure of interviewing. I thank you all. Now, ladies and gentlemen, sit back, relax, and enjoy.
The plantation owners turned to China.
They didn't have anybody to work the fields, so they had to bring in laborers to do this. The British obviously already had a presence in India, already had a presence in China, so they started recruiting peasants from these areas. And in China during that time also there was a lot of starvation. So anything outside of China was a great opportunity.
Enjoyed it, and it's a very good effort, and it should be shown to all the schools so that people understand what the Chinese have done for Jamaica.
I enjoyed it. It's a fulfillment of such a long journey that Fitzroy and his team made. The part that I needed more information on was the fact that the Chinese men had 2 wives, which was perfectly logical because they came from a society where they're allowed to have 2 wives right in their own village. And coming to another country, well, it seemed natural enough because their wives weren't present that they would marry the local people as well.
Actually, I was a part of the whole process. I was there behind the scenes, so I understood that it was a lot of hard work and dedication to make the final product a success. I was a part of it also on camera. I was on an interview, but it was really good. I mean, it was so informative. So to those who are actually of the Chinese descent and are Jamaicans, they could also learn from what the product had to, final production had to showcase.
And that's it from us here at the movie premiere for Bonds of Promised Land. It was truly an amazing show. If you haven't seen it, try and take the time to see it and learn some history about the Chinese. Until next time, I'm Candy signing out for Business Access TV.